This is part 3 of our mini-series on keys, and what we're going to talk about today is the major scale. Now, you've probably already played a major scale or maybe several major scales on your instrument, but what we're going to look at is what the major scale is made up of. So we're going to look at the pattern that the major scale is based on, because if you know the pattern, then if you're faced with a question such as please write out a B major scale or something like that, then even if you couldn't remember what B major had in it in terms of notes, if you know the pattern, you would actually be able to work that out. So let's start off by drawing our keyboard, which we learnt to do in the last video. The major scale is actually always made up of a particular pattern of tones and semitones. And the pattern goes like this: tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And that pattern holds true for every major scale, regardless of whether you're starting on C or D or F sharp or B flat or anything like that. So let's take the example of C major. Now, you probably already know how to play C major, but let's have a look at what's actually going on in this scale in terms of the tones and semitones. So if you start at C and we go C to D, because D is the next note in the C major scale, and that is a tone. So remember, a tone is a distance between two notes. If you haven't already watched the video that talks about tones and semitones, then I really strongly recommend that you watch that one first before continuing with this one. Okay, so C to D is a tone, so that's our first tone. And then D to E is another tone. E to F is a semitone, because that's a smaller step. And then F to G is another tone. G to A is another tone. A to B is another tone. And then B to C is a semitone. And it's really useful to be able to recognise that pattern of tones and semitones in C major, because if you found yourself in a position where you're confronted with a key that you don't know, you're asked to write a scale in F sharp major or something like that maybe you're not familiar with, then even if you forget the pattern of tones and semitones in the major scale, if you know how to draw your piano keyboard, you can then refer back to that and work out the pattern from the C major scale, and then take that pattern of tones and semitones and apply it to these other keys that you're trying to work on. So I think this is quite a useful exercise, looking at it in C major. But let's go on to look at some other keys. Let's do D major. The distance between D and E is a tone. So then from E, if we do another tone, that actually takes us to F sharp. And then the next thing we need to do for it to be a major scale is to put a semitone in. So the semitone takes us from F sharp to G. Then there's another tone, so G to A, another tone, which would be A to B, another tone, which would be B to C sharp, and then a little semitone to finish, landing us on D, which is where we started, of course, because we've done the complete octave. So remember, I'll just go over that pattern again. The pattern pattern of a major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So if you're asked, please write out a scale of B major, or please write out a scale of F major, or whatever it is, and it could be a really complicated one, it could be C flat major. If you know this pattern, then you can work it out. So if you know the pattern of tones and semitones, even if you do not have a clue what is in that scale, you can work it out from this pattern. The other thing that would be useful to remember is that in a scale you have to use every letter of the musical alphabet, and we're going to talk about that next time.